week's episode of Soul Eater Not was a little bit of yin and a little bit of yang. And I'm not just talking about Shala Gorgon's creepy-ass eyes. I say that because this week's episode was sort of a mixed bag, with the first half of the episode being really boring. I did not care for the first portion of Soul Eater Not this week. It was just a bunch of bubbly, goofy-ass fan-servicey moments. And don't get me wrong, I like seeing Liz and Patty in maid uniforms as much as the next guy, and if you're into fan service and that rocks your jollies, then you'll be happy because they lay it out for you on a silver platter this week. However, this week's episode is completely saved by the second half, which manages to have a great cameo scene from Maka and Soul. Eternal Feather got to reveal what her weapon powers are, and we finally got the real grand introduction of the villain of the series, Shala Gorgon. She is the sister of Medusa and Arachne, and she is a scorpion-themed witch, and I've already mentioned before that I love her design, but you really got to see it in full this week, especially her disturbing, creepy purple and red yin-yang eyes. They are so awesome looking. But what I loved about the second half of the episode is it completely surprised me, because since the first half of the episode, frankly, to me anyway, kind of sucked, I was pretty much figuring the rest of the episode was gonna blow ass. I was getting ready to just, like, destroy this whole episode with my review. But then suddenly, all of a sudden, there's this great scene where Tsugumi, Meimei, and Anya are going down to this big bazaar festival where people are selling off their goods, and they run into Eternal Feather, who's trying to sell some of her gaudy old clothes. And this is when Shala Gorgon appears, the witch, and she's setting up shop of her own, selling all of her goods, which happen to be scorpion-themed. Not exactly very subtle, but still, she actually gets Eternal Feather's attention and uses this scorpion-themed ring and puts it on her, and she's able to control her with this. You can see that her eyes actually changed to the same color as the traitor that we saw in some of the previous episodes, and she's able to take control of Eternal Feather, who now decides to just go around and start just cutting up people randomly with her butterfly knife arm. This is a really cool looking weapon. A lot of the weapons in the series usually have a theme to them, and I think this one's really unique how they actually made her arm the two jointed parts of the butterfly knife with the blade right at the elbow. It's really awesome, and the way she's able to, like, sling it around like an actual butterfly knife is some nice attention to detail. And I thought that it was going to be one of the main leads who are actually going to be fighting against Eternal Feather, but suddenly Maka and Soul arrive and give us a classic scene right out of this first series. And the first bit of it isn't animated too well, but just the fact that she is there with Soul is really awesome. But suddenly the scene just goes really dark and crazy when Shala actually makes Eternal Feather kill herself with her knife arm, and that's how the episode ends. Just right there, she kills herself, she falls over, Tsugumi witnesses it, and she is flipping her shit. She has just entered the real world, and this is what life is actually going to be like at the DWMA. It was a crazy turn at the end of the episode, and it just shows how dark Shala is actually going to be in this series. And I'm still not really sure what her entire motivation is going to be. There's a little bit of a hint of it at the beginning of the episode, but there it is right there. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Soul Eater Not? It is completely saved by the second half of the episode. The first half, like I said, you might be able to get something out of it, but for the most part, it's just seeing Jacqueline and Kim return and join the other girls and getting into maid uniforms. It just, I didn't care for it at all. It just seemed kind of like an extension of last week's episode. There were some funny parts. I like the fact when Liz was talking to Master at the Deathbox Cafe, he was telling some really dark jokes, and I thought that was kind of funny. It was really the only thing I think I really liked about the first half. But the second half of the episode had some pretty good animation in most parts. The first little confrontation between Maka and Eternal Feather didn't look that great, but there were still a lot of other moments that looked really cool, in particular when she was attacking, how she was moving and swinging her arm around like an actual butterfly knife. There was a lot of attention to detail there, and it looked really awesome. And of course, the bit at the end I did not see coming when Shala's just like, just make her kill herself, boom, big deal. And it's just crazy. And it's a shame because can Eternal Feather not catch a freaking break? Everybody gives this girl a complete hard time. Kim has always been constantly riding her. She can't catch a break, she can't sell her clothes, and now she's just been forced to commit suicide because of some crazy freaking arachnid witch This is Soul Eater Not, Episode 7, and it gets a 7 out of 10 because of the second half of the episode. If you're following the series, check this one out. It's got a lot of really cool moments in the second half, but you might want to skip a little bit of the stuff in the beginning. But check it out. It was still pretty cool, surprisingly dark, and pretty awesome, and I loved seeing Maka and Soul return. So check it out, guys. Cool episode. If you guys saw this week's episode of Soul Eater Not, I would love to hear your thoughts about it, and you can tell me with your comments below. What did you think of the grand introduction of Shaola Gorgon, and did you like seeing Maka and Soul return? And what's gonna happen next? What is Shaola actually planning to do with the DWMA? Remember guys, before you leave, make sure and give this video a thumbs up. It's really easy to do, so you can like the video. It's awesome, it helps us out. You can also subscribe to the channel so you can see all of our anime and manga reviews. You can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for those in the description box below for you guys. So, I will see you next time. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.